Have you ever thought about your spiritual gift and just kind of felt like you're not enough or you're not useful to your local church or the big church, God's global church? Well, the truth is each one of us is valuable. Paul in 1 Corinthians 12, he says, "For the body does not consist of one member, but many. If the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, I don't belong to the body, that wouldn't make it any less a part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I don't belong to the body, that would make it no less a part of the body." And he goes on to say, if the whole body were an eye, where would we hear? If the whole body were an ear, how would we smell? But as it is, God arranged the members in the body, each one of them, as he chose. Whatever your spiritual gifting is, God has gifted that to you. And I think as believers, so often we focus on the pastors or the teachers or the deacons or maybe the singers who lead worship. We think about the visible, the people who are out front, and we say, well, if I can't be that, then what is my role in the local church? But I want you to see what Paul is saying here. I can't say because you're not a pastor, you're useless. Your church can't say because you're not a deacon or because you don't sing that you have no use. In fact, sometimes our less honorable body parts are the ones we give the most honor to. The ones that are covered up are the ones that are more covered with more modesty. The ones that we think are weak or useless are indispensable. Think about your appendix. You don't know what it's really there for. You don't think about it. But once it swells up and ruptures, it can actually take your life. So what we got to be mindful of is God has gifted us. God has given each of us spiritual giftings. He's given us leaning. He's given us skills. He's given us abilities that we can use in the local church for the good of each other, the good of our brothers and sisters. And what I want you to see is that if we focus not on ourselves, not on how can I be used or how can I stand up front, but if we can focus on how does God get his glory through me? What does God see in me? What does God want me to do? We will actually benefit our church and the global church and the local church even more than we can imagine. Because here's the beauty. Your hand has a job. Your hand is not meant to see. Your hand is not meant to walk, but your hand is necessary to pick things up. And I think about our pinky toe. When you break a pinky toe, it's very difficult to walk. If you hit it on the corner of a wall, you start to limp because even though that little toe seems so meaningless and so silly looking and so insignificant, without it, things become such a struggle. And without you, without me, without each believer contributing to and pouring into our local church, our church doesn't function. It doesn't thrive the way God would have it to thrive. That's exactly why he has placed you, he has placed me, and all the believers in our local churches. It's not just about the preaching and the teaching ministries. There are so many opportunities you have to go out and be an impact. I can't go out and work in a factory and influence factory workers. I can't go out and be a babysitter or a nanny for somebody and influence those children. I'm not the CEO of a top company where I can influence the culture of that company. All I can do is teach my students or pastor the local church I'm at or influence people through YouTube. Other than that, I really can't go out and do what the rest of the body of Christ is called to do. Each of us has been given a role. Each of us is a member. Christ is the head. He's at the top. He's our focus. He's the one who drives this whole thing, this whole church, his kingdom, his glory. That is our focus. He is what we focus on. He is who we focus on. He is who drives this thing. But each of us has a role. Each of us has a part, and that includes you. So what I want to remind you of is whether you have a YouTube channel that has 20 views a video, or whether you're a person who has 100,000 views in every video, whether you're a person who is a prayer warrior behind closed doors, or maybe you lead a Bible study at your work or your church, whatever role you have, remember God gave it to you. The whole body, each part working together is how God gets his glory. It's how the kingdom grows. And that's what you need to remember. That's what's important. And that's what God is doing in and through you. And by his Spirit, through his grace, you have been empowered with gifts that build up the church and give him all the glory.